Hello and welcome back to the Hannah Summerhill Show. I'm so happy to have you guys here, and I hope everybody is manifesting the most and feeling super magnetic after last week's episode. I thought I would start off today by pulling a card from my Super Attractor deck. Let's see what message the universe has for us today. Oh, this is good. I trust that my powerful intentions combined with my faith are enough to allow my vision to become my reality. Powerful intentions plus faith equals magic. That is a good one. Thank you, Gabby Bernstein. She created this deck. Okay, so I want to start off with another really fun manifestation story. I had a really great manifestation happen last week, and I've had a hard past couple weeks, which I'll share about in a future episode, but I had a really awesome manifestation happen, and it was a huge bright spot. Some of you guys know I lead a 3-month mastermind. It's very high proximity, a small group called Ascension, and we were doing one of our practices, and I actually do the program with the group. So every assignment that I give, I also do because I think it's fun and it works and it creates magic. So I always love doing it with my Ascension students. So this past week, one of the assignments was to do an ideal self day. And so in the morning in meditation, I decided to create a new meditation for myself. And I led myself through it one morning last week. And it was so powerful, you guys. So I went in with the intention that I am my ideal self today. So I'm doing exactly what my future self would do. And so what I did is I started by meditating on infinite abundance. And I sat in meditation long enough to really not just think about what infinite abundance feels like, but to really feel it and to really go past the comfort level of my upper limits. We're going to talk about upper limits today. And I'm sitting in that feeling of infinite abundance, and it's feeling so good. And then I'm thinking about my monthly goal for the month, my monthly revenue goal. And I have a very specific number in mind for the month of May. And I think, okay, let's manifest this. So after meditating on infinite abundance, so I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling super expanded. I recall a memory. And I recall a memory from yesterday. I don't even remember what it was, but it was something benign, like brushing my teeth. And I noticed where in my brain I stored a yesterday memory. So for me, I store memories from yesterday. Like when I recall them, I store them behind my left eye. I just feel them on the left side of my brain, and then I kind of see them behind my left eye. And you can do this too. So think of a memory from yesterday that you know happened, and just notice which side of your brain is it on? Is it right in front of you? Do you feel like it's behind you? Is it black or white or color? Is it blurry? Is it moving? Okay, so lock that in. So I recalled a yesterday memory, and then I decided on a number that I wanted to manifest, an amount of money. And I decided, okay, let's implant this exact number as a memory yesterday. So I used the same framework of a yesterday memory, and I remembered manifesting that exact amount of money yesterday. And so I sat with that memory in meditation. And I was like, yeah, if I manifested it yesterday, there is nothing to do. I kid you not, you guys. I get out of the meditation. It's like 9:30 in the morning. I check my phone. I've received that exact amount, which is in the 5 figures, instantly from a totally out of the blue source. And I was like, holy shit, I'm shocked, but I'm never surprised, because that's how fast manifestation works when you are working at the identity level. The crazier part is that night I had the magic membership, and we did an abundance activation. And I said, you guys, I just did the fastest, instant money meditation this morning. I have to share it with you guys. So we did a whole training, and then I led them through the same meditation that I had done that morning. And after the class, I had people, the members, DMing me, messaging me over WhatsApp, being like, oh my gosh, I just got a letter in the mail for my birthday from my ex-husband's mother with all this cash. So random. I just got an instant refund. I just got a class action settlement suit. It was crazy. It was crazy. So yes, you can access this instant money meditation and the training in the magic membership. But if you just want a little taste and you don't want to commit to being a magic member, you can actually get the hyperspeed bundle. And I added this meditation into the hyperspeed bundle. So if you want that, you can grab it at the link in the show notes. But that was such a fun manifestation that came through this week that I wanted to share with you guys. And you guys can try that exactly how I just explained it to you. You can try that now on your own. So let's get into today's episode. So today's episode topic is all about Can you raise your baseline level of happiness? And if so, how do you do it? You've probably heard the term upper limits if you've been in the self-help or spiritual world, but the term upper limits was coined by an author named Gay Hendricks, and he wrote this short but powerful book called The Big Leap. And it's all about how we put these subconscious ceilings on ourselves for receiving love, money, success, visibility, whatever it is, because we have these upper limits. Our body and brain doesn't feel safe receiving more than that set point that we've decided that usually gets, set in childhood or throughout our adolescence. And it's very hard for us to expand past these upper limits until we notice that we have them and we do specific work to identify them and move beyond them, right? To have more comfort and more safety with more visibility, more money, more followers, more love, more security, whatever it is. You might think that you want those things and not know that subconsciously you've got a big old upper limit where your brain says, that's actually not safe for you to have a $6 million home because what if you get robbed? Right? That's how the upper limits work. It's sneaky. It's like these sneaky intrusive thoughts. The idea of upper limits is actually backed by psychology in this term hedonic adaptation, or the hedonic treadmill. And my husband actually introduced me to this term because he's a psychotherapist. And he was talking about, how with his clients, sometimes he just notices this hedonic adaptation, basically a baseline level of happiness, that even when great things happen to you, you eventually return to that baseline level of happiness. It's really, really aligned with manifestation. Like I was talking about in another episode, you don't just want to get to a place where you're only enjoying your manifestation. You want to enjoy the whole journey and not just have this rush, because eventually it's not going to last. The new relationship, the new job, the vacation, the joy of that eventually dissipates, right? And you come back down to this baseline level of happiness. That is called hedonic adaptation, or the hedonic treadmill. Now, hedonic adaptation it's kind of talked about in a negative way, hedonic, because of hedonic adaptation, the more you get, it doesn't really matter. The more money you make, it won't really make you happier, or blah, blah, blah. There's actually a positive element to hedonic adaptation, which is it means that even if you experience something really negative or difficult, that eventually you will get back to your baseline level of happiness. So that's a good thing. So I don't think the hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation is neither good nor bad. I think it's fun to have those big moments of joy, and the dips are normal. But what if we could raise our baseline level of happiness, or raise that baseline so that hedonic adaptation, we actually have a higher level of feeling pleasure, which is where the word hedonic comes from. You probably know people in your life who are constantly complaining. I really don't like those kinds of people, but they're constantly complaining about their job, their boss, their partner, a friend who's wronged them, traffic, their apartment, their neighbors, whatever it is. And they just think once I leave this job, or once I get a new boss, or once I get into that relationship, or once I break up with this person, everything will be better. And then you talk to that person a couple months later, and maybe they have broken up with that person, or maybe they have gotten a new job, but are they happier? No, not really. They're still the same person. Why is that? Hedonic adaptation. That is their baseline level of happiness. They are just a baseline complainer. And those people are so annoying, right? But you're not that kind of person if you're listening to this podcast. And I want to read a quote from Psychology Today about this. It says, "The hedonic treadmill can be a double-edged sword, offering protection from the impact of harmful environments while constraining potential gains in happiness over the long term," right? Constraining gains and happiness over the long term is that upper limit. So how can we raise the happiness overall? How can we raise our baseline? And how can we even raise our capacity for joy beyond our baseline? Let's get into it. One of the first things that you can do is you can introduce temporary scarcity, or take intentional breaks from the things that you love so that they stop feeling so repetitive and routine. Sometimes we forget that the wonderful things in our life are so wonderful because they've become so routine and repetitive. We see the same view every day that we forget how beautiful it is, or we taste the delicious coffee every day and we kind of take for granted how good it tastes. So if you want to introduce temporary scarcity, you can do that. I don't recommend recommend torturing yourself, right? That's not what this podcast is about. But you could also think of it as like an opportunity to mix up your routine. So instead of drinking your coffee every day, maybe every other day you do matcha and coffee. And every day you think, oh, I really enjoy this matcha. And then you have the coffee the next day and you're like, I forgot how much I loved this coffee. And then that's given you enough time to miss the matcha, etc., etc. So mixing up your routine is a really great way to raise your baseline level of happiness. And it seems so simple, but it actually works. That's why I think it's really fun to go on like short trips, like short weekend getaways versus like save all your PTO and save all your money for like one big vacation. Because then it's kind of like you feel this big swell of happiness and joy, and then you kind of like have this big dip down. If you've ever gotten married or had a wedding, you may have had like the post-wedding blues, and that can make you feel like kind of low. You've just had this incredible experience with all your friends and family. That's kind of how a big vacation can feel like sometimes too. So to raise your baseline level of happiness, sometimes all you have to do is like remember that you want the things that you already have. So introduce scarcity or mix up your routine. That's the first thing. The second thing is to practice radical presence. Radical presence, being in this moment now, really feeling and letting yourself feel the intensity, the joy, sometimes the pain of being alive in this moment, in this year. And sometimes to feel radically present, I will say, my name is Hannah Summerhill. It is 5:55 p.m. on a Wednesday. It is May 27th. I am in San Diego, California, et cetera, et cetera. And that will help ground me into this very specific moment and place and time, and it will help get me more present. You can do that. You can also do the exercise of what are 3 things I can see? What are 3 things I can hear? What are 3 things I can smell? Really bringing yourself in the present moment. Why is this so powerful too as a manifester? Because when we imagine our manifestations coming to fruition, we don't imagine that we're not going to be present for that manifestation. We imagine that we're going to be deeply in that moment, appreciating, feeling, celebrating the manifestation as it is happening. But if you don't have any experience in being deeply present moment to moment, how will you be able to really feel the magnitude and the pleasure and the joy of your manifestation when it arrives if you don't have that practice? So practicing presence, I know it's like blah, blah, practice presence. It is one of the most powerful things that you can do to raise your baseline happiness. And the cool thing is you can do it literally anywhere at any time. All right. Those are some of my favorite ways, the ways that I just shared with you. Another way to raise your baseline level of happiness is to practice gratitude. You've heard that a zillion times, but here's the way that I like to think about gratitude. What do I have in my life that I no longer want because I have it? And sometimes we forget that we have so much of what we already want. But of course, when you have it, you no longer want it. Then you move on to the next thing that you want. And then maybe you identify more with the energy and the identity of being a wanter, somebody who's always in pursuit, than being a haver, somebody who's whole, who has what they want. Do you see the difference? Constantly being in pursuit, chasing, wanting, versus recognizing that you have so much of what you used to want. And when you live from that place, when you manifest from that place, when you think of yourself as being a haver and not being a wanter, you are so much more magnetic. So instead of me just telling you practice gratitude, I would ask you, what do you have in your life that you would want if you didn't have it? So these are some really easy ways that you can avoid the up and down of the hedonic treadmill and raise your baseline level of happiness. And if you want to permanently raise your baseline level of happiness, I would recommend the secret weapon of Lucky Girls Everywhere, which is, of course, the Magic membership. So if you would like to join and if you would like to access that instant money yesterday meditation, you can join the Magic membership now. The details are in the show notes. Or if you're not ready to commit, you can grab the Hyperspeed bundle, which I did include the meditation in that bundle. All the details are in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for rating this podcast, for sharing it, and just being such a great community. I will see you next week.